you're hopeful that you can open soon. The fall semester, Clinton Community College will be in the dorms for one more semester in the fall, and then you hope to move in and open them soon thereafter. Will you have to do a lot of renovations, or because they're residence halls, will you be able to start operations relatively soon?
So the hope is, in order for the purchase to go through, we're waiting on the most recent appraisal so we can actually figure out what the dollar figure that's going to exchange hands is. And then the dorms are effectively livable for transitional housing. We'll have some zoning variants that we'll have to go through with the town, and we're working with them right now, and they've been very accommodating. But our goal is to have people in the dorms by, at the very latest, the 1st of next year. We're really hopeful and think this can happen by December 1st. Remembering that my arrangement with Clinton is, even if we buy it long before then, we'll allow Clinton to use the one dorm for the students through the rest of the semester in the dining hall. But the second dorm that's totally available, as soon as the sale happens, we could start putting people in there. There's no reason that we wouldn't mix the college students with, you know, our organization, but we have 2 separate dorms. So we could do it if it was faster than that, but the wheels of this stuff always turn slower than what we would like them to. And so we have to make sure that we meet all the laws and the criteria and code enforcement and those types of things. So we're working diligently to get all that done, certainly before the end of the year.
And sometime then, hopefully in early 2019.
Yeah, we really are hopeful to be in before the end of 2018, but certainly it will happen by early 2019.
Will you look for a vendor to operate the dining hall?
You know, that's the one piece that seems to be the most opportunistic for us. Challenging maybe is a better word, because we don't know exactly how we're going to facilitate that. Because there's classrooms and a dining hall, it probably doesn't work as actually just a dining hall. I think it has to be used by a variety of different organizations. So that's one of the longer term goals that we have to. For us, filling the dorms is most important, and all of the dorms have a kitchen facility on the ground floor. There will be microwaves and refrigerators in the room, so there is the ability to at least, you know, have food service in there on a limited basis, and we just don't know what we're going to do with the dining hall at this point.
You have more than 200 rooms. Do you anticipate filling most of them?
Well, if you take all 4 of the dorms, and 2 of the dorms, ours on our property, and one of the Clinton Community College dorms, needs a fair amount of inside work, new roof on each of the dorms. Some of the rooms have been damaged, so there's some work that will have to be done. So right now we have about 150 that are usable today. We can go up to about 300 if we had all of the dorms. Ideally, it would be wonderful to have programs that are servicing people filled with, you know, all 4 dorms. We don't know that that's going to happen. We do believe the need is there. Everybody we've talked to has said the need is there. So yes, love to have all 4 of them full.
Do you think the majority of the clients will be addicts receiving treatment or recovering addicts, or will there be a large number of veterans and people with mental health issues and even families? You mentioned a little bit earlier Alice, of course, the report put out by the United Way that says about 2 in every 5 individuals or families struggling to make ends meet, right on the edge of the financial cliff, and Lord knows if something happens, they could be out of their home, out of their apartment, and homeless. Which clientele do you think will primarily be served?
So I think that's probably a tough question to answer, so I'll give you my perspective of what I would like and then what probably more realistically happens. First off, I think that deciding whether they're addicts or veterans or children or whatever, it's probably all meshed together on some level. For me, the real vision was always addiction, because it's near and dear to my heart. So I would like it to be a place that's really centered around that. We also know that mental health and addiction go hand in hand, so quite possibly we could do mental health, or what they call dually diagnosed mental health and an addiction problem. And we can do just pure mental health. There's also a component of children. And as you know, the foster care crisis goes and parents are incarcerated and things like that, we may have to look at doing something that provides housing for children. The one thing that we always have to remember when we talk about this is these are not apartments. They are not permanent living places. They really are designed as transitional places to get people from a low spot in their life to a higher spot in their life where they can get out of there. So the hope is that we would actually feed Plattsburgh Housing Authority and the other agencies that have permanent housing. We would be that kind of transitional place to get people ready. But yes, for me, the goal would be centered around addiction, alcoholism, recovery, more than anything else. But that doesn't say to me that I'm not going to help other people who are afflicted with something different. So it's just that's what I'm most focused on.
For addicts in treatment or recovery, this may provide the opportunity for their families to live there with them?
They could. That's the dorms, all of the rooms are connected by a kind of a bathroom. It's almost like a college dorm living. So yes, we're actively talking with a couple of agencies about having families in there for a period of time.
That's a huge crisis right now, because in many cases the children are having to live with relatives, and if there aren't relatives, they're going into the foster care program, which is burdened right now with that. And the worst case scenario is where children get taken away from the home and have to be sent to foster homes elsewhere in the state and out of the school district that they're in and away from their families. So this could potentially address that, which is a real concern right now.
Yeah, the Rochelle Gregory from Clinton County Mental Health and Addiction has been just a strong proponent of what are we doing for the kids, what are we doing for the kids. And so she's working on some programs that could possibly facilitate a place that would be a safe haven for at least a small number of kids. That's a little bit different type of facility than, you know, adults that are addicts in recovery. So there's probably a little more work. We have to make sure they would be segregated from, you know, other people and that kind of stuff. But yes, we understand that the childhood population is probably the most forgotten of this. Everybody else is dealing with the crisis, and the 12-year-old kid who's lost his parents and is living at his grandmother's, who's trying her best to make it work, really is creating a problem. And the irony of that is those kids typically grow up to have the same kind of troubles because they're so lacking guidance at an age that's so crucial to them. So yes, if we could facilitate something with kids, would be terrific.
So if you could keep those families together.
Oh, absolutely, yes. That is always the goal for us. And when John Redden was pretty excited about that idea that we might be able to keep families together, was one of the things that he said that would be terrific if we can do that.
John Redden, the Director of Social Services
yes.
in Clinton County. Ken Parkinson, the former police chief, is coming on board as the executive director. Having someone with that kind of experience, how does that help with a project like this?
We were excited when we know Ken a little bit, and we were excited when he offered up that he might be interested in doing this. For two reasons. One, he's a great administrator of people and resources. He has a maintenance and construction background before he was in law enforcement, so he understands property management, which is great. Secondly, with 27 years in law enforcement, this population of people that we deal with, as we all know, are always in and out of the legal system for some reason. So he gives us, I don't want to say credibility, but he gives us an understanding of what we're going to have to do there. In fact, when we first walked him through the facilities, we're showing him dorm rooms and things, and he's looking at cameras and key card access and egresses and things like that because he thinks like a member of law enforcement. So we think all the way around this was a terrific hire for us. We think he's the right guy at the right time for this. And certainly it also helps to alleviate the fears that we have somebody who understands what dealing with this population is and how you actually do things from the legal system. Not to mention that he has relationships with all of law enforcement in this area, so there were a lot of pluses to bringing him on, including the fact that he has tremendous skills, tremendous talents.
And when you talk about security, are there concerns, may there be concerns among some neighbors about having this transitional housing there, or do you think you're far enough away from neighborhoods on the old base that it won't be a huge issue?
Well, I think that people are probably concerned on some level. I think everybody is. We're a business right across the road. We get concerned about it, so we understand that. This is probably the best place because it's not right in a residential area. We do have residents that live in the city that are probably close to a mile away, but we want to address all those concerns for people and explain to them what we're trying to do to get around whatever problems there are going to be. When you're dealing with this clientele at the position they are in their life, there's no way to say it's going to be 100% secure facility, nothing bad's ever going to happen and the cops aren't going to be there. I think we would be lying to ourselves if we did. But we think we're putting all the things in place enough to minimize that as much as possible. And so we want to assure everybody in the area that we've thought about this. And I think what is most important for us is that we're not buying a piece of property 12 miles from our business and saying, here, we'd like to put this class of people here. This property is effectively right across the road from our business. So we run the same risk that any of our neighbors do.
So you're buying the property.
Yes.
Then it will be the partner organizations, the social services, the counseling, the mental health agencies who will be coming together and as partners in this. Will there always be a need for funding, or do you see a secure source of funding there, grants and otherwise, that will keep this program going so that a couple of years after it starts, you're not immediately wondering if it's going to be able to continue?
I think that that's always a risk when you're dealing with government money and grants and changing regimes and things like that. But I think that this crisis is so profound, it's gotten so much publicity, and it continues to grow, that the funding can't actually end, at least in my lifetime. And for us, we also are looking at a component of private pay. So if you go to the Alice type people, and I have two individuals who actually work for me who brought this up to me. Both of them were struggling to get clean. They were living in an apartment with a couple other guys, and the other gentlemen were not interested in being clean. So this guy who's trying to stay clean and sober is going home to a house where there's active using going on. And he said, I have to live there because I don't make enough money to be able to go somewhere else. So we also look at the private pay model of saying to somebody like him, look, come and live in our facility. We'll negotiate a very low monthly rate for you. You save money for 6 months or 9 months so you can afford to get out and get on your own place. So there are so many different ways to fund this that we're not overly concerned as to whether all the grant money will die. And I think if you talk to anybody that works in the field, they would tell you they wish they could get a grant for 10 years. I think they all understand that it doesn't happen that way. You get a grant for a year or two, and then you reapply and you reapply and you reapply. So we're comfortable with having to live in that arena.